Lost in space and time for over 10,000 years, on a mission they were never meant to return from. They have returned from the horrible secrets of space. They are the Comic Shop.
You're listening to the Swigo Comic Shop Does a Podcast with me, Aaron Z. Lee.
And with me, Evan Coy. And joining us today is our very special guest, Mama's Geeky, Tessa Smith. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
Of course.
Now, we want to know a little bit about you. I find this very fascinating that you literally are several blocks down the street. We're not going to give your exact location.
Yeah, please don't.
And you're a successful YouTuber, social influencer, movie reviewer, movie critic. Like, you're pro. Like,
I guess a little.
You definitely. How did you get involved in all of this? It's fascinating.
It was just like I was home bored with kids and was like, what can I do?
What time frame is this? Like, how long ago?
This is, well, my daughter's about to turn 9, and she was maybe a little under a year old.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm bored doing nothing at home all the time. So I have a marketing degree, and I was like, I can do marketing and promotions for things online. That's easy. I'll set up a website and I'll do reviews, and this will be fun. And then shortly after that, I got sick of reviewing like random stuff. And I was like, I'm just going to focus on what I love, which is entertainment, geeky stuff. So movies, television shows, comic books, games.
What was some of the random stuff you were doing early on?
Oh, like vitamin C serum. I got probably about 10 of those in the mail one time. I was like, oh, this is compare and
Aaron, have you ever reviewed vitamin C serum?
I have never reviewed vitamin C serum. I reviewed music and stuff for a while. I had a music website, and I still do it from time to time. So that's why he asked. It's not like that just out of the blue.
He's a big vitamin guy.
Yeah, I don't know if just give me your weirdest vitamins. No, thank you.
Yeah. No.
So then you started to get into
what I love, which I was like, I don't want to just write about stuff that it gets to be a struggle. If you're writing about stuff you don't care about, I find myself sitting there staring for hours, and I have like a paragraph. Whereas now I can write a review in like maybe an hour, and that's if I have a lot to say.
So what is some of the subject matter? What interests you? I mean, obviously we're here to talk Spider-Man No Way Home, but like beyond Spider-Man, beyond comics, what interests you?
That's pretty much it. No,
okay,
I'm
good.
just kidding. Like video games, definitely comic books. I play a lot of like we play Gloomhaven. We're just starting to get into like a lot of that kind of stuff, but I don't really write about that stuff as much.
Gloomhaven being a big RPG style game.
Yeah, that stuff is super fun. Like D&D, we're going to be starting soon, I think. The girls want to get into that. My kids want to get into that. But pretty much movies, television, especially comic book related stuff, but all movies in general.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So how did you get into comics? I'm always so impressed with you have a really deep knowledge of comics. Sometimes when you're talking with Martin, I'm a little lost that I'm like, I think I know this stuff, but you get into it and you really know these characters inside and out. How did you get into comics?
My dad.
Okay, really?
And Sergeant Rock was like the first comics I read. My dad's like super into Sergeant Rock. I just talked to him about it the other day. We were talking about him, and he's like, I wish when I was a kid they were making Sergeant Rock movies like they make all these Marvel movies. And I was like, I remember that's the first comics I picked up. My dad had them. I just started reading them. And then it evolved into Marvel and some DC. I never got into DC as much as I got into Marvel. I like the Gotham stuff though. If I'm reading DC, I want dark and gritty.
Yes.
That's my DC. I don't
kind
care
of like
about
gothic
Superman
and whimsical and a little bit dark.
Yeah, like the Gotham City Sirens I love, and Joker.
There are so many Bat books out right now. This is Batman season because they're doing nothing with any other character. Well, that's not. It's just Martin and I. We can't believe the volume of Bat books coming out. Like it's unbelievable. I'm going to circle back to Sergeant Rock though. Aaron, do you know anything about Sergeant Rock?
Joe Kubert on Sergeant Rock. That's one of his big books. Titan in the industry. Of course, like I'm an art teacher, so I'm always going to go back to the art component, and I'm make my own comics and stuff too. But yeah, Joe Kubert, man. Have you ever heard people talk about him drawing or like seen any stuff of his stuff? He is one of the most lightning fast. He's like a savant in terms of a page. He's got like in his prime, he's since passed away, but he has.
He's not as productive anymore, is what he's trying to say.
Well, going dark there. But he had like a cockpit, basically, with all the tools around him with his drafting table in there, and he would just be like working on stuff and knock out a page in less than a day. Like he would probably do multiple pages in a day. He was very respected, and his kids are still around. Andy Kubert and Adam Kubert, and his granddaughter
Emma Kubert.
Emma Kubert. Yeah,
Emma's
she does Inkblot.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Have you read Inkblot?
No,
Your kids haven't looked at that one?
I don't think.
Ooh.
Well, they might have.
Okay.
I
You
don't
got to
know.
check out Inkblot.
Well, maybe there you go.
Well, it's
Good gift idea.
about this young woman and her cat, basically, and kind of like a fantasy.
But
thing.
it is. She's a granddaughter of Joe Kubert, and
Yes.
very different style than their superhero father and uncle. But just it really resonates with like people of like.
I see.
Yeah.
I see stylistic similarities
Do ya?
between her and her dad for sure. But her mom really likes watercolor.
Mm.
This will be a callback for later.
We're already off track. What's it like being a YouTuber? How did you? So you're doing these reviews. Did you start on YouTube right away, or were you writing your own things, or how did that come about?
So YouTube was always like, if the brand asked me to do something on YouTube, I'll do it. I need to go back and clean it up because there's like I know for a fact there's a diaper review way back when, but people still watch it, so I kind of leave it there for the money.
Aaron, have you ever done a
But-
diaper review
so-
before?
I have not.
You
no.
will be soon. New father next
Oh,
month.
that's true.
Oh, there you
That's-
go. Well,
that's true.
congratulations.
Yeah, I'll
So
have to watch that
You'll
video.
have to watch that video. But it started where I am now on YouTube started. I have a friend who he works for Disney, but he knows I'm a big Marvel fan. And we always talk to comics, and I'd say, how do you not read the comics? What's wrong with you? And then Marvel officially, I think it was Marvel Entertainment, officially released a little bit before Infinity War, kind of a collaboration of different YouTubers who had done reactions to previous trailers, and was kind of like, it's all coming together for this Infinity War, right? And we were talking about it, and he was like, when they released the Infinity War trailer, you really should react to it and just put it on YouTube. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. That's embarrassing. And he was like, no, really, just do it. And I was like, fine. I have no idea what I'm doing. This was my first trailer reaction. It doesn't have the trailer in the corner. It's just like me there reacting to this thing I'm watching. And I posted it, and it did pretty good.
What's pretty good?
I don't remember. I mean, at the time, I think maybe like 10,000 views, which isn't like a ton.
How many
but-
followers do you think you had at the time?
Oh, I had like 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like 1,500. And I'm at 80, just about to hit 82,000.
Oh, wow.
Probably today. So that's how I just started doing reaction videos from there, because people were like, wait, she really likes Marvel. She knows this stuff. She should, like, we'd love to see you react to this and this and this. And it became a thing. And I've kind of jokingly said, and maybe I'll actually do it, when I hit 100,000, maybe I'll react to that reaction, which I've yet to watch since I posted it.
I think that'd be great.
Reactionception.
Yes, exactly.
Then you put the trailer in there, and then have your original reaction, and then your new reaction.
I should. And I'll
Kind
be
of
like,
like Bo Burnham a little bit.
here I am not looking at a trailer.
And then when you do 1 million subs, then you can go back and do like the reaction to the reaction to the reaction.
There you
yeah,
go.
Yeah.
We'll just keep it going.
And then you can do a director's commentary on the reaction.
The director's cut.
So we need to get some more followers quick here is what it
Yes,
sounds like.
exactly.
This is a great idea. I love it. So do we want to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home, or do we want to talk about anything else first?
I'm good talking about No Way Home. Listen,
So
I'm
between
not going to cry, though.
well, I was promised in our
I
correspondence
know.
that there would be
I might
tears.
be cried out. I cried
So who
earlier
did you
today about
talk
it.
to today with it about the
Just
movie?
a friend, but
Yeah.
finally had seen it, so we were able to talk about it. So good.
What made it? So we've Aaron and I went and saw it on Saturday.
Yes.
You've seen it 14 times now, I believe.
Three
Oh,
times,
three.
three
Okay,
times.
all right.
Just
My
three.
math-
I would see it again too.
We don't do a lot of math here at the comic show. Actually, Martin is at the theater right now.
Oh, of
with
course he
his
is.
mom and with Patrick.
Oh, okay.
Good.
That's right.
watching
That's okay.
Spider-Man.
We'll
so
forgive
that's
him
awesome
for that.
Yeah.
It's one of the ones, as soon as it ended, I went, I have to watch this again.
Yes.
Like, I have to watch this again.
Is it as satisfying watching it again? Like, are you picking up more? I feel like it's a digestible story to me. Yes, there's a lot of moving parts. I'm sure I'm missing little things. But in watching it multiple times, and actually as a critic watching movies multiple times, is that to me I find that difficult. There are very few movies that I want to immediately rewatch, but that's your job. Like, so for
Yeah.
Spider-Man in particular, how does that look?
So it was different because I saw the press screening on Monday down in New York City. I flew down to see the press screening, which normally I will tell you guys press screenings are quiet. Nobody cheers, claps, makes noise, barely ever laughs out loud. They're just sitting there writing in their notes. And that's not me. I don't do that.
So
I
how
react.
Actually, that
to
brings
the
up a
show.
good point. How do you get into the press screening? Because I feel like it's not always 100%. Like you kind of have to kind of bamboozle your way in sometimes, or like
Yeah.
so what do you? In this, for Spider-Man in particular, how did you get involved in going to the New York City premiere?
Spider-Man was hard.
It's not a premiere. What do you
This
call
was
it?
not a premiere. This is just a screening, a
Okay.
press screening.
Yep.
The premiere was out in LA. So I had been trying to find a Sony contact forever because they're really, really hard. And finally I got a contact, and I had messaged them about, this was back when Venom was coming out. So they said, we'd love for you to come down and watch Venom, Let There Be Carnage. We only have screenings in New York City. I told them I'm from up here, and they're like, we don't care about Oswego, New York. You're not getting a screening up there. So, but you can come to New York City. Great, perfect.
Yeah, they're right next to each other, right?
It's so close.
It's New York.
Yeah. So I actually drove to the Venom one because it was like, they gave me like 48 hours notice. Remember, I tried
Yeah.
to get Martin to come with me. But he didn't. I know.
And Martin wouldn't go.
I know.
Oh, he
I
drives
know.
me crazy.
I know. But so
The last 20 minutes of this podcast will be devoted to us
I know.
bashing on Martin, going, "God, Martin."
I couldn't believe it. So I drove down, and I was like, I have to say yes. I wanted to go for Venom anyway. I like Venom, but I wanted to get in with Sony.
Yes.
It was the first invite. I wasn't going to be like, man, never mind. Then I would never hear from them again. So then they invited me to Ghostbusters Afterlife. That was a premiere in New York City, which was really cool. Paul Rudd, like everyone was there. The cast came out to introduce the movie. It was a lot of fun. And then when I sent them my coverage for that, I said, hey, if you're having anything for Spider-Man No Way Home, I would love to be included. Now, probably at this point, I'm on their list anyway, and they were going to invite me because I have gotten asked to use pull quotes, which they never used, but they asked, which means they're reading my stuff.
Do they have
for,
to
like,
ask you if
Venom
they
and-
use your?
They do. They have to
Really?
ask. Yep. And I try to always say, like, literally anything you want to use, take it. But they always ask, and they send a whole list of the quotes and the variations of it that they might use and everything.
Yeah, just spell my name right?
Right.
Like-
That's all I care about. Like, I don't even care. Don't even put my name up there. But I just know it's for me. That's cool enough. But yeah. So then I said, if you have anything for Spider-Man No Way Home, and she replied and said, we'll let you know. And then it was like maybe 2 weeks ago I got the
Yeah.
invite for Monday.
That's awesome.
So
That's
I was
incredible.
like, yes,
I
I'll
just
go.
find this incredible that again, like this is your profession,
It's
and you're
crazy.
like, I see you at the post office. I see you at Walmart. Like it's like, oh, like she's a professional movie reviewer, critic. She's in the same field that I am, that Aaron is, and she's right there in town, and like we talk, and like it's I don't know, it blows my mind. I just feel like it's such a cool gig.
Do you,
It is
do you think
cool.
that this could only happen now with the internet?
Probably. I think there's always been movie critics, right?
Right.
But like, I don't think would be as many people. I mean, you'd have to live in New York City or LA. Now because of the internet, I can get screening links and make contacts, and I don't think that would ever be the case if it wasn't for that.
Roger Ebert and Siskel were in Chicago before the internet.
Oh, they were?
somehow,
There
they
you go.
somehow cracked
Well-
that
Well,
code. I mean,
Chicago is
Chicago's a
better
big
than-
city.
bigger
yeah.
than Oswego.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair point.
Yeah, I bet they do premieres in Chicago from time to time, depending on the
I'm
film.
sure. Yeah.
Depending on I was surprised that Spider-Man No Way Home wasn't in New York. To be perfectly honest with you, I thought
Yeah, that
that
does
would have
seem
been
odd.
because Ghostbusters was.
Yeah, and Ghostbusters was like a Midwest
Yeah.
film overall, right?
Did you watch Ghostbusters?
I haven't seen it
I
yet.
haven't
no.
seen it either.
Oh, it's good.
What's your 30-second Ghostbuster review?
It's fun.
All right.
Make sure you've seen the first one at least. Also, if you haven't seen the first Ghostbusters, like
Well,
What's-
we certainly have because the podcast did a review of the first Ghostbusters.
Oh.
We did.
When that movie came out. That was what we said. We were going to go watch the original Ghostbusters, which is tremendous. I forget.
Yes.
I
It's
hadn't
fun.
I hadn't seen that movie in a number of years, and I like to joke that I was homeless 2 years ago because I was supposed to be moving from Syracuse to Oswego, and a bunch of things got screwed up. So I was like, well, I'm just going to get a hotel for a couple days, and a couple days turned into like a couple weeks, and then I moved to
Oh,
my
wow.
parents' house for like a few weeks in Rochester. But during that time where I was homeless and I was going to like just gut it out in the hotel, Ghostbusters was on one night, and I completely fell in love with that movie again. So
It's
great
fun.
flick.
this one's it's good. It's fun. It's a lot of callbacks.
Yeah.
It's a lot of nostalgia, but it's fan service, but it's done well. Is what I'll say.
Well, speaking of fan service, let's go back to Spider-Man.
Yes, I know what we're here for.
Spiderman,
Spiderman.
my personal CPA. No, I always make a joke that Spider-Man's an accountant. It's not really funny. It's just something I say a lot.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Thank you.
Let's just grind this podcast to a halt. So, Aaron, give us your take on the movie here, real quick. We've kind of got a good setup from Tessa as to how she's gotten involved in all this and Spider-Man. but-
About Spider-Man No Way Home.
yeah, give us. I mean, we're going to talk spoilers here. I don't know if we want to start non-spoiler and work our way into spoilers, but
I mean, this particular film it picks up right from Far From Home, and it already has its foot on the gas pedal from the very beginning and doesn't really let off until the end. My personal feelings towards this trilogy, I like Tom Holland and Zendaya, and I always forget the third gentleman there, the third young gentleman.
Jacob?
The
Ned?
Ned, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Ned. I can't remember he was a great actor too, but I just can't remember his name right now. But I feel like there's a little bit of fatigue of main cast. So like by the time you get to the third main cast, it's like, I like them, but the other ones are my college friends. And this is just like somebody nice I met on the street, and then I see them every once in a while. I was like, yeah, they're great, but they're not like my buddies. Like I don't hang out with them. So I see that they're going through stuff, and I certainly appreciate their roles, and like them a lot more after No Way Home, because I feel like emotionally they got to do a lot of stuff that they've been building towards. So you kind of build that connection through this film. But at the beginning, I like them, but they weren't like I didn't have like an emotional attachment so much to them until some of the events of this. Doctor Strange in here. I'm a big Doctor Strange guy.
I've heard that Tessa is not a big Doctor Strange fan at all, so I think that's
wasn't.
you weren't. Aaron, explain why you're such a Doctor Strange fan.
It's tough to explain. I think
if you need tissues, I have tissues.
Okay, thank you,
Perfect.
thank you. This is the part where I might cry. No, I don't know. But there was like when Marvel Knights was kicking up in like 1998 and like 99. I was trying to pick up as much of those as I could, with my my lawnmower money and like all the other like odd jobs I could do to earn cash for my parents. And there was a Doctor Strange miniseries that was illustrated by Tony Harris and Dan Jolly all the way back in '98. And I had some other Doctor Strange stuff, but it didn't hit quite as good as this. And I really liked Tony Harris's artwork. He did like Deus Ex Machina, or no, maybe just Ex Machina, and he's done a bunch of other stuff. He's been a professional around for a long time. But it just had like horror elements to it that were mixed in, and they were much more visceral. It kind of was like a little bit like Hellraiser, some of the imagery in this stuff. And I think when I saw him portrayed in that way, and then like he's also like changing from his costume to like streetwear, which he did a million times before then, but I didn't know. But just that kind of like darkness in a Marvel character, and just kind of the possibility, not just magic, but like magic with like a dark edge to it, because just like sparkles and wands alone don't really get like super exciting. But like when you start to pull in demons and people whose like faces are melting, and when you're like 10 or 12 or whatever, you're like, oh, people's faces are melting, this is really interesting to me. And then over the years, he's just been a character I thought of fondly from that point. But also the more I find out about him, he's a character that's really tough to do, so he's a little bit difficult. Because like with the whole magic thing, how do you write that? Like people have a lot of difficulty doing that.
I would find that impossible writing magic. Like, because again, you have the answers to everything, which I feel like in this movie, you have to take it as a movie and kind of separate yourself from like, well, why can't Doctor Strange just? Well, he's the master of this multi-dimensional space, but he's still trapped there for 12 hours or whatever. Like,
and there's still stuff he doesn't know too.
Yeah.
There are parallels to like real science and real medicine too, right? Like we know a lot of stuff, but we don't know everything. But the stuff.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, but okay, but I was talking to you a little bit earlier about like I'm buying like all of these giant collected editions of Doctor Strange and like reading it from like the very beginning, and Steve Ditko, like his stuff is just wild. I like his work, but then
a lot of Ditko references in the movie too.
Yeah,
trying to bring it back to No Way Home now.
Yeah.
But
there have been many. Okay, let me just sum it up. There have been many artists that really like totally go crazy with Doctor Strange, and I'm a visual guy, so like he's one of the characters that like nothing is off limits, and you can go absolutely insane with everything, and some people do. Okay, I'll let you go back to No Way Home.
What's Tessa? Talk about Doctor Strange in this movie. Then what makes him work? What is he the new Tony Stark type character? Like,
Don't ever, no.
Yeah, okay.
No,
I
that's
apologize.
too far.
Robert Downey
It's too
Jr.
far.
2.0. I think we can all agree on that.
I apologize. No.
Sorry. No, I will say I started to like him more with what happened with Infinity War and Endgame, and now this. I found it interesting that he lost being Sorcerer Supreme. I thought that was really funny how they just like weaved that in there, like, oh, I blipped for 5 years, so that's not me anymore. But I liked his interactions with Peter. I did find it a little weird. I was like, how is he letting Peter just like mess up his spell?
Uh,
right? Like,
yeah.
isn't he a professional?
Well, and I think that there were several points in time where I was questioning Doctor Strange's actions, and then I think in the last,
Yes.
the very last, after the credits,
The end credit.
the
scene?
end credit scene. I'm new to this. Where all of a sudden I could tell that when they said, and the problem is,
Yeah.
I saw that one coming from a mile away,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I felt like he was actually kind of problematic, and it seemed like Wong had obviously he's the Sorcerer Supreme now, and you could almost feel like there was a little bit of animosity,
Yes.
from
Oh,
Wong
yeah.
to Strange. Like, look, quit effing things up here. Like,
Just trying to reel him in a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I thought that dynamic was very interesting.
I like
Also
it.
in the chat here we have same goatee for Robert Downey Jr. and Doctor Strange. And wasn't there a comic where that was like the reoccurring gag? That,
I've only
like,
seen the meme. I didn't read that.
there
particular
was
comic.
a comic that was, I don't know, a couple of years ago, where that was the reoccurring gag, is that they would get confused because they had the
because
same
of the same-
facial hair. I don't know, but
This makes
But
sense.
there's some facial hair modification, as we saw in the end credits
Yes.
scene, with the curved goatee end point.
are you excited about that?
It is a little bit Tony Harris like.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and read Flight of Bones, Doctor Strange book, you will see some curved goatee look.
I don't know if I like it. We'll see.
Well, isn't that isn't that supposed to be the dark one? Is that a
Yeah.
spoiler?
So right, well, have you seen What If?
Oh yes.
I think it's the one from What If, technically, right?
I
Or is it just a dark? What do you think?
It could be a variant. I feel like I feel like Marvel at this point, if you're gonna tease us with something, you got to deliver at this point.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna be like, oh, it might be this guy, and then it's just like Sal, who just
I-
looks like him.
I know. I think it is going to be, because there's also rumors that Captain Carter is coming to live action in this movie.
Ooh.
I think a lot of people are going to be coming out of the animated stuff. So, and the Disney Plus shows. So basically, if you're not watching them, you should watch them.
So Aaron
Yeah.
brings up the point that if Marvel's teasing something, it's got to deliver.
They know that now.
Tessa, how did Spider-Man deliver?
Oh my gosh, more than I even expected. I went into it knowing far too much, way more than I wanted to know. For some reason, because of my job, people are like, "Oh, I'm just going to send you all these spoilers that I found. Look at all these leaks I found online. Don't you want to look at this picture?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." So I was completely spoiled. Like, even just, we're talking spoilers, right?
Yeah,
so
we're
like,
talking spoilers.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
So like,
If the
yeah.
3 people that tuned in, guess what? You're just getting it.
They've probably already seen it.
one of it's my husband, so he's seen it for sure.
Yeah.
So like, I was ruined on Charlie Cox coming in, which makes me so mad, because that would have been an amazing little,
Great one-liner.
you know, yeah,
Great
it was perfect.
one-liner.
It was perfect.
There were some good laughs for that. I'm a really good lawyer or something.
I'm,
Whatever he
yes,
said.
that's what he says. I'm a really good lawyer. The way we saw his abilities and we saw him, so I was ruined for that. I mean, I didn't know about Andrew and Toby, but like, first of all, we all knew that was
You knew
coming.
they were coming.
But then also the leak there with him with the scaffolding, Andrew on the scaffolding, that was like real. And we went back and watched, and my husband caught it. It was them talking about the web block. He said, "You got a web block? Like, did you ever have a web block or whatever?" Because people were like, "Oh, is he saying web blood? He must be talking to Toby." And it was actually web block, but still, like. But even knowing all that stuff ahead of time, this blew my expectations out of the water. You know what I mean?
I oddly enough, and I've talked to customers about this before, I don't really care about spoilers. It doesn't bother me, because there are so many people that come in that are excited to talk about something.
Yeah.
I just want them to be excited and talk about it. And it doesn't necessarily ruin the viewing experience for me, like when people spoil something. I really did my best effort to stay away from all the spoilers. And I kind of knew certain things were coming. And it was fantastic. I thought we might be introduced to a few other returning characters, but like it really nailed it for me. It really lived up to the hype. And I'm so glad that I did stay away from those spoilers.
So did you not know about Charlie Cox then?
I had an inkling. I mean, you see so much rumor and speculation before, like the 2 or 3 weeks beforehand, where I like shut it down and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to watch any of this. But
I feel like
Yeah.
since Charlie Cox showed up in the Daredevil TV show, people are like, oh, everybody's going to be in legal trouble. They're going to need him. He's going to show up everywhere.
It's true.
So I don't even know when the Netflix show started, but people have been saying that for years and years and years. And for
it makes sense. And then we've got Kingpin showing up here in
yes.
Hawkeye. Spoiler, guys, if you haven't watched Hawkeye, but watch Hawkeye.
And then
It's already out.
Good
I'm
old
super
Hawkeye.
psyched for Tatiana Maslany as She-Hulk. That's going to rock.
That's gonna be good. That's, I think, January or February. It's soon. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, 'cause she's such a great actress. Did you watch Orphan Black?
I didn't, but I've been told I
She deserved all the Emmys, and maybe she got one. Anyway, Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Yeah.
Lucas is just saying, I think the What If show is a playground to see if a character works.
need to. Makes sense.
Okay, I'll go
It's
with
an
that,
expensive
Lucas.
playground.
Listen, I'm here for it.
Is that what a writer's room's for?
Right, yeah.
Test it out first.
Isn't that what these dumb comics are for?
Right. It's the cheapest research and development in
That's true.
going right now.
It's good,
All right,
though.
let's go back to the movie here.
Okay.
All right, Aaron,
Yes,
the three Spider-Men,
Spiderman.
the Spidermans.
The Spider-Mans.
How great were they together?
Such great chemistry.
Oh,
So
I
good.
was talking earlier. Like if they made a Seinfeld show that was just Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire, just like. And it's like, oh, you guys run out of webbing again today? It's like Toby's like, not me, I never do. Remember? They're like, oh yeah, that's right. And then they just drink coffee and like play a little bass riff. I would tune in every week for that.
I would do.
That was a great strength, I think. Like they did this bombastic thing where they're pulling back these actors from 20 years in a history, and then they're letting them just have these really small moments, especially with Garfield, Andrew Garfield,
Don't make me
where
cry.
they're like, prove it, and he jumps up and he's like
I know.
hanging from, and he's like, this isn't enough for you. Like I just love small character moments in these big spectacle things because I think these movies could be a lot smaller. I don't think we necessarily need a big fight at the Statue of Liberty every single time.
Right.
Like if there are good personal stakes, I think that's all we really need.
No, I'm glad we got to see them as Spider-Man and as Peter Parker's, like interacting. Like you got to see them fight together,
Yeah.
and you got to see them just like be in the lab making cures.
That was one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. Where like
I like they did it twice. They did the
Yeah.
pointing
Did they?
twice. They did it in the lab.
I didn't really notice it, but I believe it's there.
how?
So-
Because I was waiting for that at
Yeah.
one point in time, and it got to the end of the movie, and I go, oh, they didn't do that. Like I feel like that's such an obvious.
did.
Oh gosh,
So
I can't believe
in
I
the
watched
lab,
it again.
in the lab when Ned is like, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and they're like, that's all of us. They're pointing to each other. And then
Okay, yep. I didn't. Yep.
Yeah, and then when they're like in the scaffolding there and they're trying to regroup, he's like, when they're deciding who's Peter 1, Peter
1,
2,
2, and
Peter
3.
3. Mm-hmm. He's like, Peter 3. I just love that part of Andrew. Oh, I love Andrew so much.
Who was your favorite Spider-Man?
So I've always said Toby's my favorite Peter Parker.
Let's talk about the movie specifically.
This movie
specific.
Andrew Garfield, hands down. Now I love that Tom became Spider-Man in the end, but for me, Andrew Garfield completely stole the show. I think he wanted to be there, and you could just tell he was so happy.
Tessa, I agree 100%. He wanted it.
He did,
wanted
and
to
he
like.
deserved it.
Aaron, who was your Spider-Man
Presenting the
from this?
just from that film.
I mean, obviously we're within the context of yes, we've seen these guys in other
from
movies.
the information you're presenting to me and from what I remember about the movie, he has the best closure for appearing in the film for when Mary Jane's falling off.
Yeah, no, that's
falling
what's
off
gonna
the-
be.
we got the tissues ready here.
I know.
That was a beautiful save, and it's funny. Not funny, but like I just
Hilarious,
I just
like,
heard.
Gwen died.
Well,
It was so funny.
she wasn't that.
Oh God.
So many people in the theater, and I haven't had a theater experience like this in years either, where
Yeah.
people were laughing, they were cheering, they were rooting, they were clapping, which you should not clap. But the other reactions, you can clap at the end. The emotional reactions were great, and that was one of those moments where, because it was Tom Holland that made the first dive.
And then he gets knocked up.
And then and I just heard so many people go, oh, he's going to do it. He's going to do it.
know.
And it was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, it was really good.
No, but then when she goes, "Are you okay?" That's what got me.
Yeah.
And he's like crying.
Yeah.
Because for him, it was like, that felt to me not just that moment from his movie, but that felt to me also like an Andrew Garfield. Just like when he's going with Toby and he's like, I'm lame compared to you guys. And Toby's like, you're amazing.
Yes.
Amazing
Yeah.
Spider-Man. But also that felt like him like meta a little bit.
Yes.
Like him talking about his movies, right?
It
like,
certainly was. It certainly was yeah.
All of their interaction definitely had a meta twinge to it. Like
Yeah.
all of their interactions hit on two levels. It was like the characters in the movie and then the actors talking to each other too about this commonality that only they have.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. I'll tell you, Andrew, to me, I'm so glad he got that moment.
Lucas says no clapping or cheering. I'm okay. it's an emotional response, and I think you should be, like I like the gasps, I like the cheers or whatever, but the clapping,
I'll tell you, every time I saw it, even the critics, there was cheering and clapping, which is never happens.
And again, it's so nice to have a theater experience like that we haven't had in years, that because of the plague,
that's the other thing,
like
too.
it's a really good, you're part of a community watching something, and that's it's just a different experience.
I do want to give a shout out to the youth pastor, Peter Parker.
Yes,
because I like Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker for a number of reasons, like his overwhelming goodness or whatever. But I think casting him in that particular role is true to the original Steve Ditko Stan Lee thing, where it's like the nerd becomes powerful, but he's like a good guy. And I think that through him, like all other like normal, boring people have like an avatar that they can be like, yeah, I'm a good guy. If I got bit by a spider, I'd probably do that. And so it's like to see him come back and be that supportive like adult to the other characters was really nice too, because I don't have a dynamic personality like Tom Holland or Andrew Garfield, but but gosh darn it, man, I can be a cool youth pastor.
Oh man, how about when he saw Doc Ock there though, and Doc Ock was like, "You're all grown up" at the end, and Toby's like, "How you doing?" That part was great.
You might make me cry with that.
I know, I just love that because it was like, I was just like seeing them back together in that interaction. I loved it.
Next to the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, Doc Ock might be the most interesting character in the movie for me.
Yes.
Willem Dafoe for me.
Okay.
Oh man, they are both like jockeying for like best supporting villain character. Like,
all right,
like just when you think like Alfred Molina's like it's definitely him, then the Willem Dafoe's like, hold up, I'm willing.
Tessa, I'd like you to make the argument for Willem Dafoe, and then I'd like you to make the argument for Molina if you could.
Oh, well, Willem Dafoe, first of all, when taking his mask off was the smartest thing they ever did.
Oh my gosh.
Seeing his face. And the fact when Tom, oh my gosh, I'm like visualizing this in my head. When Tom is on top of him, punching him in the face, and he's just smiling and laughing at him.
Oh my God, that scene, that was awesome.
So good. And even just the one line when he goes, how does he word it? He's like, Norman's on sabbatical, honey, or whatever, that to kick off like that. Oh.
I also love that they solve the mask issue the most lo-fi way possible. It's like, how about we give him a purple hoodie?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, okay, that works great.
Goggles to fly around, and you're good.
It's just like, what were you thinking the first time around, guys? Come on.
So good. But even his Norman is so good.
His duality between
when
oh
he's
my
sitting there,
gosh.
it's like, I saw Spider-Man on the poster. I thought that you'd be able to help me, but you're not Spider-Man. And he's all confused, and he's like, he plays that so well. Oh,
like very vulnerable
yes.
and kind of small, and then just like switches.
And then
over.
even at the end, when he's like cured, and he's like, "What did I do?" And he sees Toby there, like thinking maybe he killed him, or at least knows he hurt him. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's good. Go ahead. What you got on Alfred?
This is a tough spot. I put you in a tough spot, and I do apologize for this.
Green Goblin is like so integral to the plot. And so many of the motivations that are key to the climax of the film, too. I mean, Alfred Molina is endlessly lovable. Anything he's in, you're just gonna absolutely love him. Even when he's a bad guy, tearing things up and being a jerk, like you just be like, it's just Alfred. I just love that. Look at those arms go, man. I just love seeing him up there doing his thing. I mean, I'm glad it's not my car, but. And him kind of converting early in the movie to an ally allowed him to have more of those mentor moments, but
and maybe that's what I liked about it. I don't know. I mean, Willem Dafoe was incredible. So I mean, you're right. That face is so expressive. It's a Jim Carrey type, like he's really contorting it. Yeah, and it just plays so well to the character that is the Goblin and Norman Osborn. That like you're right. There is like. Not that there's a softness to his face when he's Norman Osborn, but I think you said there's like a vulnerability or something like that.
Yeah, you can
it was a good movie.
I did like how
I know
Alfred Molina did the double agent type thing at the end.
The
key moment at the final fight there.
Yeah, he grabbed him and he said like, "What? Leave him for me" or something like that.
Yeah, I think
Electro's like, "I don't need your help."
I think Doc Ock is a character I would hang out with. Willem Dafoe's performance as Green Goblin is superior.
Okay.
Yeah. It's good.
Some of the other villains, I think, left a little to be desired.
Well, it's going to happen.
Well, two of them were clearly. I don't even know if they filmed with anybody else. I feel like
yes.
they were like, let's just take your.
Like who plays
behind.
Flint Marko? Who plays Sandman?
Thomas Hayden Church.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's like
Him. He was sand the whole time.
until the very end, where he was just
Seems
sitting by
strategic.
himself, right?
Yeah.
Strategic
Yes.
sand.
Sitting by himself. Same with Lizard, really. I mean, he was with other people as a lizard.
Yeah.
So, and then he's one shot at the end, right? Does he even say anything when it's? I think he says.
He says a couple things.
But I mean, not as Lizard.
No, he
After
says
he's cured, does he say anything?
I don't know. They might have reused shots from
Yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man, and I think they might have reused shots from Spider-Man 3 too, for Thomas Hayden Church
Yeah.
in real life.
They were barely.
Really?
in it.
I think so. Like it's if they didn't, they had him posed the exact same way. I forget what he had at his.
Were there
like,
any
handout.
interviews given by them in regards to their participation in this
No,
project?
just the other three villains. Just the other three.
That's we might be onto something here. This is because I was thinking that same thing. It just seemed like, and again, you can't develop everybody's character, and you know you're going to let the biggest guys shine. But I thought the same thing. I was like, oh boy, it's just weird that there would seem to be no interaction.
They're just walking around as sand.
You think they're just sitting at home angry about this whole experience?
No, they are very happy to be a part of it.
because
I'm
they're getting
sure.
money. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're getting money.
Yeah, and get their name associated with the movie again too. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't. And Jamie Foxx was good. He was better.
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx was
definitely
better. Was better.
He could actually be himself. I don't know if it was his idea to do that character the way he did it in Amazing Spider-Man 2, or if it was the director or the producer or whatever. It's just like we saw Batman Forever, we saw Batman Returns. We don't need to see the disgruntled former employee who has a vendetta against you know either the person who owns it or the person who they work closely with. And Electro could be a lot more interesting, and it's Jamie Foxx. Like, he's a really good actor. Like, he could have done anything. Like, I don't know. I think if I was a producer and I was sitting down with him, I'd be like, okay, here's the character that we know. What do you want to do with this? Like, what places could you take this character? And then I would listen to him and be like, okay, let's do that. I don't know. I'm not a producer.
I
though.
feel like he was better, and I'm glad we got his like mask thing.
Yeah, the star.
That was
At
awesome.
the shop today, we sold an Electro toy, and that Steve Ditko design for the original costume is one of my top 3 costumes in comics. That it's so ridiculous, but it also just works.
Yeah.
On that level, that comic level of like, it's just a silly design, but it's just so it's so iconic. And I feel like translating that into film would be incredibly difficult, and I think that they did a good job with that.
Yeah.
There were some compromises for sure, but he can't have a big yellow zingy thing, lightning bolt flying out of his head. I totally understand that.
Yeah, Steve Ditko. He's a world builder. Like,
a lot of Ditko. There was little Ditko things hidden throughout the movie there.
A couple
And,
graffitis
yeah.
and stuff.
And like I said, I've been going back and reading the early Doctor Strange stuff, which is a part of Strange Tales. So when he first started out, he would get 5 pages. So you get a 5-page chunk here. You get the letters in from the readers, and then he get another 5-page chunk, and then it's like, oh, they want more. So here's another 8-page chunk. So in a lot of these things, he's building worlds in like, less than a quarter of what a regular comic book is today. It was a different time too, but I still think it's remarkable that he was able to do that.
Were there any parts of the movie that didn't work for you? Anything that took you for me, and honestly, it's very difficult for me to even remember. There was probably 5 minutes out of the 2.5 hours where I was like, that was kind of corny.
I think, honestly, just the beginning parts, because it's what they've already showed us a bunch of times. It was a lot of the same stuff we saw in the trailer, which I watched multiple times for trailer breakdowns, all that sort of thing. They had already released the opening minute. But I think after that, I was like, oh, okay. Because it's kind of like, oh, I've seen this already. Pretty much everything. Like, but then they even changed stuff up because, like, it wasn't. They show Wong saying in the trailer, he says, like, don't cast that spell. In the movie, he says, just leave me out of it. And I was like, oh, they're changing stuff up. And that's really maybe it, because I saw it a bunch of times. But honestly, I mean, I would have a very hard time picking something I really didn't like. Some of the comedy is like corny, but like that's what Marvel does, and I kind of like it when they do it. So,
Yeah, some of the comedy was corny, but I like it. That's just
me too.
Like you were talking about, what was your favorite part of it? Not favorite part of Eternals, but it was
Kumail Nanjiani and his assistant. That was the part that felt the most Marvel in that whole thing. Not to say that a Marvel movie can't defy its own tone, but they were. Wait, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah,
maybe I ought to not go into it. But I mean, the only thing that I mean, and this is just because I like this character a lot, was that Spider-Man's in the mirror dimension. And he's like, you know what? I can take on Doctor Strange. You know what I got that he doesn't? Math.
Geometry.
Yes.
Geometry.
You know what's cooler than magic?
Math.
That was awesome.
I also think bringing the Spider-Man together with the Doctor Strange magic. Yeah, you need to bring them together somehow, but it was kind of a corny way of like Spider-Man's been there like just milling around for a day and like hasn't like everybody else thought
He's like, "I've been
to
looking
seek
for
out
him,
Peter
right?"
Parker, and it's just like the youth pastor's just wandering around an alley there, just like waiting for
They're
something
like,
to
this
happen.
some random guy. Don't they say that? And he's like,
Well, I could see the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man just kind of wandering around part of the city, just feeling like, wow, the people here seem really happy. I'm just going to sit on the park bench and just watch them for a little while.
wild people.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hey, we've got a very special guest with us here.
Oh, my.
Ooh.
If I can get him. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh, can we hear?
From the great beyond.
From the great beyond, Lucas Brewer is joining us tonight via very janky phone, and we're happy to have him. Lucas, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
You sound very excited and
You're
thrilled
so
to be
happy
here.
for this conversation.
More
aren't you?
excited than usual.
What's that?
I've been watching the stream, and it's been very interesting. I do wish I was there because there are a few things I do want to talk about. So now I kind of I had that chance.
Lucas, do you have a question for Tessa, Mama's Geeky, or for Aaron Lee, who you see 3 times a week?
I'm just curious on how they're doing.
Good. How are you?
All right, I'm going to hang
you're
up.
killing
I'm
time
going to
here.
hang up. If
He's pulling a Larry David.
that's one of my favorite Norm Macdonald jokes. Is he'll be interviewing somebody like David Letterman and go, just where do you get your ideas from? Like just a terrible like. Lucas, do you have a legitimate question for us?
No, that was it.
Oh,
I do want to add the point that Evan, Electro did have the yellow mask on during the film, so he did kind of have a comic accurate suit. And also, I heard that it's in Jamie Foxx's contract that he may get his own solo movie. No Way Home makes a certain amount of money,
I hope not.
so we may be seeing an Electro movie. Hopefully with Andrew Garfield returning.
That would be the only way I would want it.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
No, that's
Because I don't think there's enough there to have like a.
No, we've already seen his whole arc, and now
Yeah.
he's cured.
Right,
So,
yeah, I agree.
yes. Sony's not going to greenlight that.
isn't he cured technically right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would he? Would it just be him hanging around?
Yeah.
It's just a comedy movie.
After
with-
he,
it's just a,
all the cured villains hanging out.
now you're selling it. Now I'd
Right.
watch it.
All right, Lucas, you have 30 seconds to say something interesting, and then I'm hanging up on you.
Okay. That Andrew Garfield is rumored to. Well, actually, both Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are rumored to be in more projects.
Yeah.
But Andrew Garfield more specifically, since this movie, there's been like a renaissance of Andrew Garfield, and people love him, especially on like Twitter and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So
He's
they
been
want
trending
to
on
see
Twitter.
the Amazing Spider-Man 3, which I think would be pretty cool. But I think also if they put him in like universes with like Morbius and Venom, I think that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, it's Morbius. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
Morbius.
I think.
All right, Lucas, we appreciate you calling in tonight. We're sad that you couldn't be here. Your high energy, as always, has inspired us to finish out the last 15 minutes of this podcast strong. But we're going to hang up and answer your question if you asked us a question. I'm not quite sure. Have a good night, dude.
I think it is going to be Andrew. It's been speculated that Andrew was going to be the one in Morbius. That's his picture where it says murderer on
Oh,
it.
okay.
And so people now technically, right? I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter too, with it said murderer on it. We're thinking back to this whole Mysterio Tom Holland thing, but Andrew literally says I went down a dark path and I stopped pulling my punches. Was he out there really killing people? Is it him?
Oh.
I mean, it could also be traced back to Gwen too. Like if anybody witnessed that, they could, there's a fine
That breaks my heart.
perspective makes a big difference whether he's trying to save her or
Right.
Whether
If you're seeing it from far away, you don't know what's going on.
yeah.
Are we excited about Morbius?
I like
Okay.
I like Morbius.
Cautiously optimistic. That's the word I would use for that.
I liked him in the animated show in the 90s. It seemed all right.
He was good in the cartoon.
It feels like that he's mixed into everything. And this is something I was talking with my husband about earlier this week, and he's asking me why. Why is it like he's everything? He's got the Venom reference. He's got this reference. He's got MCU references. He's got all this stuff. How does he fit? I said, I don't know. There's multiverses out there. Some of it overlaps. Just kind of like the same with Doctor Strange. It's magic. That's how.
And I think that's, again, going back to, movie magic. You just have to kind of separate some of the sillier things that
Or maybe it's
took
just
place.
for the trailer.
Or it's just for the trailer. I mean, look at that. I always say Marvel messes with you during the trailer. I mean, look at Infinity War. They had Hulk in the trailer and he fighting in Wakanda. That didn't happen.
That's true.
Really?
That's true. But he did eat some
Yes.
tacos.
He
which
did.
I love the small
In
moments.
Endgame, though,
Yeah.
he wasn't in Infinity War at all.
Yeah.
He was in the
Really?
trailer. Hulk never came
it was
out.
just
Remember,
Ruffalo.
he couldn't get. Yeah, he tried to get him to come out.
All Ruffalo all the time, which I'm not
See?
complaining.
No, me either. But see, Marvel will mess with you.
My sister lives in the middle of nowhere in the Catskills, and Mark Ruffalo is one of her neighbors.
I know, that's so cool.
it-
We should do the podcast from there. See if he wants to
Road
join.
trip.
She's done a few, not neighbors necessarily, but like lives in the next town over, and occasionally he's around, like, you see him at the bookstore or something like
Yeah.
that. But she did an event one time where I don't know if she hosted the event or she introduced people at like some kind of function, because my sister's one of these super prolific. She does everything as well, and he was there. But she said she didn't really have a time to, like, beyond saying hi. She's never really talked to him, and she was so excited at this one event to potentially talk to him, and I don't think it really transpired.
Oh.
So.
He
But-
seems like a cool dude.
I think
Yeah.
that the story is, again, my sister was in the middle of nowhere, is that I think he filmed one of his first movies there, like as a 21-year-old guy, and was like, hey, this is great. Like, this is super affordable. I'm just going to buy a house in the middle of nowhere. And he still kind of maintains that as one of his properties. So
Very cool.
is it? I don't know.
Sort of.
I don't know. And all right, so where are we? Do we have any? We're about 50 minutes into this thing. Do we have any last minute thoughts, or like where does?
Oh, I've got lots of thoughts, but I don't know if you want to hear all of them.
I do. Where do we go with Spider-Man from here? Like, were you satisfied with the ending and the memory wipe of every, like, I think there's just a lot of, like, ambiguity as to how this is going to work. I think it's necessary because,
Yeah.
but it's just, is it a little?
It's more than a memory wipe, though. They have to make it so he completely didn't exist. So you see, he's studying for the GED.
Okay.
That means his school records are gone. Because I've had a lot of people come to me and ask, well, isn't there like a paper trail? They video.
Is he
like,
no longer an
what is-
American citizen?
I don't know. It's movies. You just don't know. How does that work? But I mean, you have to think, like, obviously the paper trail of him is completely gone. Nobody knows he even existed.
Is the next
I
one going to
think
be
that
called?
was the point of the GED thing.
Next one's going to be called Spider-Man. I have no home.
Yeah, that's sad and depressing. But it's a little, I mean, I think you just have to. He's Spider-Man now. That's how I feel. I feel like he's graduated from a boy to a man.
Yeah, and he got
That's
busted
movie.
down to like base level.
Yeah, he's got
Spider-Man.
no friends, nobody he can rely on. His
What-
Uncle Ben, who was Aunt May, is gone now. You know,
I know they've been trying to bring Black Cat in for a long time, but I just read that one with Santa Claus with the gun on the cover, the
Yes.
Spider-Man, the reference to the Terminator. And
Aaron did a little review on his channel yesterday of some holiday themed Spider-Man books, and his wife bought him one last year from late 80s.
mid 80s,
Mid-eight-
85,
yeah.
85. Peter David written Spider-Man, but just from reading back in that era of like mid 80s Spider-Man, where he's like going back and forth between the black costume and the red and blue costume, and then like there's like this cast of ladies that's like interested in him, and it's like, and the artwork's a bit darker, a bit more detailed and stuff. Like if they could. This is me and my taste. Like if they could just go in that direction a little bit, where like Peter Parker runs into some like femme fatales type thing, like bring in some Black Cat.
I saw a fan casting for Black Cat yesterday. Anya Taylor-Joy. I'm not mad at that.
That could work.
I don't know who that is.
I know she's Magic. Well, she's Magic in New Mutants. Did you ever watch
But-
New Mutants?
But I don't think they're gonna.
But I don't think they're continuing on with that.
No.
So
No, that was inspired casting for that, I thought.
I liked that movie, but not many people did.
I just wish it was like the first, like the pilot episode of like an HBO
Yes.
Max show,
I know, because it felt like it set up for so much, and then
And-
we never got anything.
and it's all based off the Bill Sienkiewicz thing. And we could go for another 2
Yes,
hours once
I
we get
know,
on the
so
Bill
we should
Sienkiewicz
probably
route.
not. Yeah, but yeah. So anyway, Black Cat would be cool.
Yeah, I would like to see some more
I
of
think
that.
that's where, if we get Tom Holland, which apparently
Do we-
Sony had like announced we had 3 more and then they took it back.
Oh, did they? Because I was going to say we have 3 more Tom Holland movies, correct? But now you're saying no.
They like kind of backtracked on it. But I think they weren't supposed to say anything before the movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they said it, they were all of a sudden like, "Whoa, maybe not."
Now, is the spell because I know that there was some tumultuous stuff with Tom Holland's like contract ending and like Marvel and Sony were no longer playing nice. Did they come back together to make this film to make a clean break so like Sony and Marvel can go their separate ways if they want to, but they're making too much money so they don't. Really want
I
to?
think they know it's not the smartest thing to do at this point. They need to work together, and I mean, I personally, I'd like to see Tom Holland continue, especially now that I felt like that was his setup for Spider-Man. Like that was his
Yeah.
Peter Parker trilogy, right?
Yes.
And now we're moving into like his Spider-Man
Okay.
trilogy, especially like a dark. But I'm not mad at more Andrew Garfield either, to be honest. I would love to see him.
He's got the chops to do a really cool dark Spider-Man.
That's the thing. If we're going dark, like Andrew Garfield, ooh, he could pull that off.
Can we have 2 Spider-Men?
I mean, I'm okay with it. We've got the multiverse here.
I know,
We got-
right?
You just have them go simultaneously. They're just in different timelines. That's not confusing at all. Don't worry about it.
Lucas is saying confirmed Spider-Man 4 is in development. I don't know if that means anything.
Yeah,
though.
Kevin Feige said it the other day in an interview, but
I don't think that these things mean anything sometimes.
Isn't everything in development?
The spider hype is ridiculous right
it's
now.
crazy right
So
now.
I think you could probably find a quote that, that's getting ad clicks, that's getting whatever, that's
Right.
loosely based in some kind of comment that somebody made,
Exactly.
but I don't know
And what
how.
even constitutes development? Like a writer's like, hey, if you're doing 4, consider me. It's like, okay, it's in development. And
right.
it's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. I mean, because Tom Holland even said, like, just opposite that, said, I'd love to continue to play Spider-Man, but I don't know if I should. I'd love to see another young actor. And then he even said, we've had 3 Spider-Men in a row. Why can't we bring in a Spider-Woman or bring in Miles Morales? Which
there's-
who they mentioned.
There's
in the
so
movie.
many characters. Ooh,
Yeah.
which,
Yes.
we can still talk about other places where things are going to go, but like this is representative of some of those different characters that exist.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have to stick just with Peter Parker. We've had
Do you want to flip through that and we can look at it real quick?
Sure, we can.
We'll
I haven't read this, but it doesn't look bad. Let's see,
There's
how do we do?
ton.
Oh, it is upside down. Evan.
No, it's not.
Now it's
Oh,
not
it is.
upside down.
Oh, boo. I screwed it up again.
I would expect no less. No, I'm just kidding. But
All part of the charm of the comic shop has a podcast, does a podcast, whatever we do.
ooh, I love punk rock Spider-Man. Can we get him?
Yeah. I saw a toy of him the other day. Well, the one that's kind of from the video game, he was cool.
And then is this like Girl Scout Spider Girl? Oh, that's another thing I wanted to bring up that we didn't talk about was they're talking to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and they was asking about like, does it work out? And he's like, yeah, it takes some time, but it does work
Yeah.
out. Is that opening the door to Mayday Parker of Spider Girl?
Maybe.
Actually, I was expecting at one point in time with the
Oh.
conversation between Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, I was waiting for him to drop that, like, yeah, it does work out. We have a daughter, May, or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. I felt like that was a logical.
Bring Toby
Yeah.
back, have him grow the goatee, the little white
another
strip of
goatee,
his
yeah.
hair, and he gets injured. He loses. Spoiler alert for Spider Girl. This comic came out 20 years ago, but Spider-Man loses his leg, and that's why he retires from being Spider-Man. But if they did that, I would be so on board
That would be
for
cool.
Mayday Parker. Like
See,
when
that's the thing. I have 3. Why don't they all just each continue their own thing?
And
I
you-
agree.
You could. I do. I think at this point in time, you would have fans of particular Spider-Man, Spider-Mans.
I know what's the right.
But like I think you could.
I just want more Andrew Garfield. I've always loved him, but this like renewed my.
He stole the show, right?
He did.
He stole the show.
I think
and
he
it was,
completely stole the show.
And I think going back to the comment you said earlier, it's almost like he had something to prove.
he did.
he did.
And I think he
He did.
kind of knew that,
And he brought it.
and he crushed it. He
I
crushed
am
it.
dying for. I tweeted this out this morning, but I am dying for the first interview where he can talk about it. Like I want to know his whole thought process. I want to know how he felt about the redemption. I want to know, like, how he feels about how everyone's responding. You know, like because there is like a massive movement.
Yeah,
like,
who has
give
said
us
anything
Spider-Man
bad?
3.
Find me the negative Andrew Garfield comment. I
Yeah,
don't think
there
it
isn't.
exists.
No, that's why I'd love to. Like, I just want to hear what he has to say about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
I have one final
He's got to
question,
be
actually.
overwhelmed.
I have one final question for Aaron and you, Tessa. When Doctor Strange...
Ooh.
That's kind of cool.
That
Yeah,
is
like
real
Robo
cool.
Spider-Man.
When Doctor Strange knocks Peter Parker out of his body and he becomes like an astral projection,
Mm-hmm.
do they explain why Spider-Man can still like...
No. Spider sense?
That's got to be it. The spider
That's my
sense.
guess is the spider sense. They
It's-
didn't
and-
say, but
Is a spider sense a magical thing that like...
I
it's
think
a
there is.
spider sense.
I think there is precedent for it being magical in origin. I know I didn't read the J. Michael Straczynski Spider-Man, like a lot of it, but they talk about like the mythical, like the reason that Spider-Man has so many animal enemies is there's kind of these totems, I think, which
yeah,
which
yeah.
is magic
Yeah.
adjacent. So like if you
Yeah.
want to go down that road, we've got legal precedent for
Right.
that.
I know that part was a little.
Because there was just no
Like,
follow
huh,
up to that.
they
And I thought
never-
like that's like, and obviously it must have been introduced for a reason. That like there's a zillion writers that could come up with a clever way of.
He
I
just has
think
a
it
whole
was just to annoy Doctor Strange.
yeah. Well, he has,
Am I thinking too much about this?
I think Spider-Man just has a home security system on his body when he's
Right.
when he's away from home.
Ooh,
Yeah. There you go.
I like that. That's actually good.
Actually, good. Like nothing else I've said has been.
No,
good
it's
at
been
all.
great.
Thanks
It's
a
been
lot,
great.
Evan.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's listen to something funny.
Hello, friends. Santa Claus here. With rising elf labor costs, increased pricing in magical raw materials, and a collapsing sleigh-driven supply chain, don't expect much from me underneath your tree this year. Do yourself a favor and go to the comic shop, 112 East Bridge Street, the comic shop, and treat yourself this holiday season. With comics, games, toys, and
what we
more,
do.
you're sure to have a good holiday picking up some goodies at the comic shop. Oh,
We're running out of time for this one. So.
and hey, I'll make it up to you next year, as long as there's not civil unrest and global collapse.
Jeez. It's depressing a little bit.
Is it?
The comic shop, your only choice for holiday gifts at this point.
Any final thoughts, Aaron,
I like Doctor Strange.
Tessa?
I love this movie. And more Andrew Garfield, please.
All right.
Sorry I didn't cry. I cried a lot.
It's
today.
okay.
It was-
Miss-
you can go to my channel and watch me cry.
What is your channel? Plug your social. Not that again, 4 people watch this, but like
Yes.
plug your social stuff.
One's my husband. He knows.
Shout out to Brett.
Yes. Mama's Geeky. MAMASGEEKY. That's me on YouTube, on Twitter, Instagram,
On the gram.
everywhere. But I have a spoiler review, and I cried. And then I did my 10 most emotional moments, where I also cried. And then I talked about it today, and I cried. I think I have no more tears left. But this movie, I cried every time I saw it, from the entire third act, from a spoiler, Aunt May biting it to all the way to the end. I just kept crying.
Mr. Lee, do you want to plug anything?
Yeah, I have a few comics out there that are available at the Oswego Comic Shop. I've got Pizza's Pizza, Son of a Pizza Man, the human son of a living pizza man, must fight evil anchovies. And I also have my ongoing series of Leslie the Robot, the weather emergency system of a college radio station, comes to life to learn how to dance. It's a crossover between Iron Giant and college radio, and there's music interviews in the back. And I've also got Creep of the Crop of Creeps, Craptacular Crop Show.
Pretty crappy.
It's very crappy. It's a collection of horror stories I've done for Inktober. Also available at the Oswego Comic Shop, 112 East Bridge Street.
The comic shop. And I think with that, Tessa, thank you so much for joining us here
Of
today.
course,
This was a lot of fun,
anytime.
actually.
This
I really
was
enjoyed
super
it.
fun.
And maybe
You
we
better
can
invite me back.
Maybe we can do it again at a future point in time, and maybe we can even have like 5 or 6 people watch us. It'll be a good time.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So, Mr. Lee, would you like to take us home?
You have been listening to The Comic Shop Does a Podcast with me, Aaron Z. Lee.
I am Evan Coy, and we're
Tessa Smith, Mama's Geeky.
Mama's Geeky. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
See ya.